this is where I started my career. My family moved here and it's a good living.
Dame Lillard has finally revealed why he's leaving the Milwaukee Bucks and returning to the Trail Blazers. Even though he tried to hide it, there's clearly some bad blood behind the scenes. This move isn't just about loyalty or legacy. I've got all the details. Let me break it down. The shocking exit from Milwaukee. On July 1st, 2025, in a move that caught virtually everyone off guard, including Damian Lillard himself, the Milwaukee Bucks waived the 9-time All-Star, stretching his massive $113 million contract over 5 years to clear cap space for center Miles Turner. This wasn't just another roster move. This was the brutal end of what was supposed to be a championship partnership that would define both Lillard's legacy and Milwaukee's future. To truly understand the magnitude of this decision and its ripple effects throughout the league, we need to rewind and examine the complete story of Damian Lillard's tumultuous 2-year journey with the Milwaukee Bucks. A saga filled with sky-high expectations, crushing disappointments, personal struggles, and ultimately, a shocking conclusion that nobody saw coming. When Damian Lillard arrived in Milwaukee in September 2023, the basketball universe collectively held its breath. The Bucks had pulled off a seismic 3-team trade to acquire Lillard from Portland, sending Jrue Holiday, a 2029 first-round pick, and pick swaps to the Trail Blazers. The pairing of Lillard's clutch-scoring wizardry with Giannis Antetokounmpo's freakish dominance was supposed to be the stuff of championship dreams. Fans flooded Milwaukee's Deer District, chanting for their new hero, fully expecting this dynamic duo to steamroll through the Eastern Conference and deliver the franchise's second championship in 3 years. The early signs seemed promising, almost magical even. Lillard's debut was nothing short of spectacular, a scorching 39 points against the Philadelphia 76ers, setting a franchise record for a Bucks debut, complete with a perfect 17-for-17 performance from the free throw line. The hype was real, the potential was undeniable, and Dame Time appeared ready to take Milwaukee by storm. But beneath the surface, cracks were already beginning to form in what many believed would be a fairy tale union. What the public didn't fully grasp at the time was the emotional turmoil Lillard was experiencing behind the scenes. Lillard had desperately wanted to join the Miami Heat to chase a championship ring with Jimmy Butler, not Milwaukee, and felt blindsided by Portland's decision to ship him to the Bucks instead. His heart wasn't fully committed to the situation from day one, and this underlying tension would prove to be a persistent issue throughout his tenure in Wisconsin. The first season in Milwaukee quickly evolved into a pressure cooker of astronomical expectations and messy realities. Under rookie head coach Adrian Griffin, the Bucks struggled significantly to mesh Lillard's ball-dominant playing style with Giannis's paint-crushing approach to the game. Lillard himself later admitted that blending with a completely new team was no easy task, especially with just 1 month to prepare after the late September trade. But the challenges extended far beyond the basketball court. Off the court, Lillard's life was falling apart in ways that few fans truly understood. He was navigating a painful divorce and an intense custody battle, separated from his children who remained in Portland, and grappling with the overwhelming emotional toll of leaving his lifelong home. The weight of these personal struggles became evident when he missed a game in January 2024 for personal reasons, a rare absence that had Giannis jokingly begging him not to leave again. But for Lillard, this wasn't a laughing matter. He was a man under siege, fighting battles on multiple fronts. On the basketball court, the Bucks' offense often looked disjointed and clunky, with crossed wires and questionable shot selection becoming regular occurrences. The team's defensive struggles exposed deeper organizational flaws that had been masked by their previous success. Griffin's inability to properly harness the offensive potential of the Lillard-Giannis partnership led to his midseason firing, and his replacement by Doc Rivers sparked a disastrous 5-game losing streak during a crucial West Coast trip. The 2024-25 season began with renewed hope and optimism. Lillard, now more comfortable in his role and with a better understanding of his teammates, seemed to have found his rhythm. He averaged 24.9 points and 7.1 assists while earning his 9th All-Star selection. During this period, he reached several significant milestones, passing NBA legends like Kyle Korver and Reggie Miller on the all-time three-point list, further cementing his status among the league's elite shooters. A blood clot in his calf sidelined Lillard for the final 14 regular season games, casting doubt over his availability for the playoffs. Though he made what many considered a miraculously quick return for the postseason, showcasing his incredible determination and competitive spirit, fate had one more cruel twist in store. Lillard tore his left Achilles tendon in Game 4 against the Indiana Pacers, collapsing on the court in a heart-wrenching scene that ended not only his season, but potentially his entire tenure with the Bucks. The injury was non-contact, making it even more shocking and unpredictable. Milwaukee fell to the Pacers in 6 games, and with Lillard's future suddenly uncertain, whispers of discontent and organizational dysfunction grew significantly louder. The relationship between Lillard and the organization began to deteriorate rapidly during his recovery period. Reports emerged that Lillard's agent, Aaron Goodwin, had clashed with Bucks management over Lillard's desire to rehabilitate his injury in Portland with his family, a reasonable request that some within the organization apparently opposed. The writing was on the wall, but few could have predicted just how ruthlessly and decisively the Bucks would act. On July 1, 2025, in a move orchestrated by general manager John Horst, Milwaukee made the cold-blooded business decision to waive Lillard, stretching his massive contract to clear the necessary cap space for their pursuit of Miles Turner. The decision was characterized as a basketball move designed to retool around Giannis after losing Brook Lopez to the Los Angeles Clippers, but it represented so much more than that. Turner, a rim-protecting, three-point shooting center, was viewed as the perfect complement to Giannis's skill set during his prime years, but the cost of acquiring him was steep, cutting loose a 9-time All-Star who had given everything he had to the organization, despite facing personal and professional turmoil at every turn. The most shocking aspect of the entire situation was how Lillard learned about his release. Reports surfaced that he discovered his waiver like the rest of the basketball world through social media notifications and news reports. His agent called the move a surprise, but sources later claimed that despite the shocking nature of the announcement, Lillard was secretly elated to finally escape what had become an increasingly toxic situation in Milwaukee. Paul George provided insight into the business nature of such moves. The Bucks' front office and coaching staff were reportedly less enthusiastic about the decision. Giannis was said to be not pleased with the move, understanding that he was losing a talented teammate who had battled through adversity to try to help the team succeed. Fans were equally torn, mourning the loss of a star who had given his all, despite the personal and professional turmoil that had defined his time in Wisconsin. The emotional homecoming, Dame's journey back to Rip City. In a twist that seemed almost too perfect to be real, Damian Lillard's painful exit from Milwaukee would ultimately lead to one of the most heartwarming stories in recent NBA history. Just 17 days after being waived by the Bucks, Lillard signed a 3-year, $42 million contract to return to the Portland Trail Blazers on July 17, 2025, complete with a no-trade clause and a player option for the final year. The reunion wasn't just a basketball transaction, it was an emotional homecoming that captured the hearts of fans across the league and reminded everyone why sports can be so much more than just wins and losses. The moment news broke of Lillard's return to Portland, the basketball world erupted in celebration. Social media exploded with reactions from fans, players, and analysts who understood the deeper significance of this move. Lillard himself expressed his joy with an emotional Instagram post simply captioned, "Rip City," alongside a photo of his old locker, underscoring the profound sentimental value of this homecoming. For a player who had always worn his emotions on his sleeve, this simple message spoke volumes about what Portland meant to him. But to truly appreciate the magnitude of this reunion, we must first understand the complex circumstances that led to Lillard's original departure from Portland in 2023. His exit from the Trail Blazers wasn't a simple case of a disgruntled star demanding a trade. It was the culmination of years of frustration, unfulfilled promises, and ultimately a breakdown in the relationship between a loyal franchise icon and an organization that seemed to have lost its way. Lillard's first tenure with Portland spanned 11 incredible seasons from 2012 to 2023, during which he became not just the franchise's all-time leading scorer with 19,376 points, but also the face of the organization. His loyalty to Portland had been legendary, even as the team consistently fell short of championship expectations. Despite numerous opportunities to force his way to contending teams, Lillard remained committed to Portland, believing that success would eventually come to those who remained patient and dedicated. However, by 2023, that patience had finally worn thin. Lillard's growing urgency to win an NBA championship as he approached his mid-30s became the primary driving force behind his eventual trade request. The Trail Blazers' inability to build a championship-caliber roster around their superstar had become increasingly frustrating, not just for Lillard, but for fans who watched year after year as mediocrity became the organization's defining characteristic. In April 2023, Lillard made his position crystal clear, emphasizing the need for significant roster upgrades and stating that he was uninterested in a rebuild centered around young talent like Shadon Sharpe. He told ESPN's Stephen A. Smith that the 2023 offseason was the most important of his career, sending a clear signal that without major improvements, he would be forced to consider his future elsewhere. The breaking point came when Portland's front office, led by general manager Joe Cronin, made it abundantly clear that they were prioritizing developing young talent over building around Lillard instead of trading for veteran help, was a move that Lillard openly opposed as it directly overlapped with his position and signaled the organization's shift toward youth. On July 1, 2023, Lillard formally requested a trade, initially hoping to join the Miami Heat, where he believed he could finally compete for a championship. However, the process quickly became contentious and emotionally damaging for all parties involved. The relationship deteriorated further when Portland's front office ceased communication with Lillard and his agent for 2 weeks in September, leaving them completely in the dark about trade negotiations. Perhaps most shocking of all was when Lillard, having second thoughts about leaving, suggested rescinding his trade request and remaining in Portland. General manager Joe Cronin's response was devastating. He told Lillard there was no coming back, effectively ending any possibility of reconciliation. This meeting, held at Lillard's Portland area mansion, marked the definitive breaking point in their relationship, as Lillard felt genuinely unwanted by the organization he had given everything to when he began working. Out at the Blazers facility in September, Cronin reportedly ignored him completely, further straining an already damaged relationship and making it clear that the organization had moved on. The eventual trade to Milwaukee was particularly painful because Lillard's camp had pushed hard for a deal with Miami, but Portland prioritized getting the best available assets rather than honoring his preferred destination. The three-team deal ultimately sent Lillard to a destination he hadn't anticipated, adding another layer of disappointment to an already emotionally charged situation. Despite the messy nature of his departure, Lillard's love for Portland never wavered. In his song, Farewell, released under his rap persona Dame Dolla, he reflected on the situation, rapping, "I continue leaving trails, but won't be for the Blazers. Reasons for me leaving the city's nothing typical, so it's imperative not to believe the narrative. Just know that what I left is better than what I inherited." This demonstrated that he held no ill will toward the city or its fans, understanding that his departure was driven by business considerations rather than any personal animosity. When Lillard returned to Portland as a visiting player with Milwaukee in January 2024, he was met with genuine admiration from fans who understood the impossible position he had been placed in. His emotional response to seeing familiar faces in the crowd underscored the deep connection he maintained with the Portland community, despite the painful circumstances of his departure. Now, nearly 2 years later, circumstances had aligned to make a reunion possible. Freed from Milwaukee's organizational drama and with a guaranteed $113 million from the Bucks due to the contract stretch, Lillard suddenly found himself in the enviable position of having complete freedom to choose his next destination. While several contending teams like Cleveland and Miami reached out with offers, his heart pulled him back to the place where his NBA journey had begun. Shams Charania revealed the decision-making process during an ESPN appearance. The financial aspects of Lillard's return created an almost unprecedented situation in professional sports. For the 2025-26 season, he will earn approximately $70 million combined, $22.5 million annually from the Bucks' stretched contract plus $14 million from his new Portland deal. Over the next 2 years, he is guaranteed to earn $141 million with the player. Option for 2027-28, providing additional flexibility for his future plans. But beyond the financial considerations, the personal impact of this reunion cannot be overstated. Lillard's return to Portland is fundamentally driven by his desire to be close to his children and reconnect with a city where he spent 11 transformative seasons, building both his legacy and genuine relationships within the community. The opportunity to rehabilitate his Achilles injury in a familiar environment, surrounded by a trusted medical staff and the people who know him best, provides invaluable emotional and psychological benefits that extend far beyond basketball. Udonis Haslem captured the emotional significance perfectly when he stated from multiple meetings between Lillard, general manager Joe Cronin, and head coach Chauncey Billups at his house in the weeks leading up to the signing, demonstrated the organization's commitment to making this reunion work. The fact that these conversations took place in his home environment, rather than in sterile office settings, spoke to the personal nature of this relationship and the genuine desire from both sides to heal the wounds of the past. The inclusion of a no-trade clause in Lillard's contract, making him one of only 2 players in the NBA along with LeBron James to have such protection, ensured ensures that he maintains complete control over his future. This level of security and autonomy represents a stark contrast to the powerlessness he felt during his original departure from Portland. The Portland Trail Blazers organization has undergone significant changes since Lillard's departure, transforming from the team that chose rebuilding over contention into a franchise that appears genuinely committed to competing at a high level. The team finished the 2024-25 season with a strong 22-18 record in their final 40 games, ranking in the top 5 defensively and third in transition defense. These improvements indicate that the organization has developed a much clearer identity and direction than they possessed during Lillard's final years in his first stint. The acquisition of veteran all-star Jrue Holiday from the Boston Celtics represents exactly the type of championship-level talent that Lillard had been requesting during his original tenure. Holiday's presence provides the Trailblazers with elite two-way play at the guard position, offering both veteran leadership and the type of defensive excellence that can elevate an entire team's performance. For the upcoming 2025-26 season, Lillard is expected to miss most or all games while recovering from his Achilles injury, but his veteran presence and leadership will provide invaluable guidance to this young roster. Rather than being viewed as a limitation, this transitional period offers a unique opportunity for him to serve as a mentor and culture setter without the immediate pressure of carrying the team's offensive load. This mentoring aspect was emphasized by multiple analysts, with one noting, "The emotional weight of Lillard's return extends beyond just the player and organization. It represents a healing process for an entire fan base that had been heartbroken by his departure." Portland Trail Blazers fans have always prided themselves on their loyalty and passion, and Lillard's original exit had left many feeling betrayed by their own organization's handling of the situation. The ripple effects, what this means for everyone in the NBA. From Portland's perspective, the acquisition of Lillard represents much more than simply bringing back a franchise legend for sentimental reasons. The Trailblazers have fundamentally transformed their roster since his departure, evolving from a team that chose rebuilding over contention into a franchise that appears genuinely committed to competing at the highest level. The organization's strategic vision now centers around combining veteran leadership with young talent, creating a sustainable model for success rather than the boom or bust approach that had characterized their previous iterations. The team's acquisition of Jrue Holiday from the Boston Celtics represents precisely the type of championship-caliber talent that Lillard had been requesting during his original tenure. Holiday's elite two-way play provides the Trailblazers with a proven winner who understands what it takes to compete for championships, having been instrumental in Milwaukee's 2021 title and Boston's 2024 championship run. The backcourt pairing of Lillard and Holiday, when both are healthy, creates one of the most formidable guard combinations in the entire league. Holiday's defensive excellence perfectly complements Lillard's offensive wizardry, addressing the long-standing defensive concerns that had plagued Portland throughout Lillard's first tenure. This partnership offers the potential for Portland to compete at a level they haven't reached since their 2019 Western Conference Finals appearance. The Trailblazers finished the 2024-25 season with an impressive 22-18 record in their final 40 games, ranking in the top 5 defensively and third in transition defense. These statistics suggest that the organization has already established a strong defensive identity and competitive foundation, which could allow them to remain relevant in the playoff conversation, even without Lillard's immediate contributions. When evaluating Portland's championship prospects upon Lillard's return to full health, the assessment becomes more complex. The Western Conference landscape remains absolutely loaded with championship-caliber teams, including perennial contenders like the Denver Nuggets, Oklahoma City Thunder, and Dallas Mavericks. For the Trailblazers to become legitimate title contenders, they would need Lillard to return to All-NBA form at age 36 or 37, which represents a significant challenge given both his age and the nature of his injury. Paul George provided a realistic perspective on Lillard's championship window, stating, "The situation in Milwaukee presents an entirely different set of complications and implications. The Bucks' decision to waive Lillard and stretch his contract to sign Miles Turner represents a calculated gamble that Turner's rim protection and floor spacing will better complement Giannis Antetokounmpo's skill set than Lillard's ball-dominant offensive approach. This move signals that the organization believes they can compete for championships with a more traditional center alongside their superstar forward. However, the human cost of this decision cannot be ignored. Reports indicate that Giannis was not pleased with the organization's handling of Lillard's departure, raising serious questions about the franchise's relationship with their most important player. For an organization that has already undergone significant roster turnover in recent years, alienating their cornerstone player could have devastating long-term consequences. The reaction from former players highlighted the business-first nature of the decision, with one analyst noting, "The Bucks now face the challenging task of convincing Giannis that they remain committed to championship contention, despite making what many perceive as a lateral move at best." Turner's skill set as a rim-protecting three-point shooting center does provide theoretical advantages over Brook Lopez, who left for the Los Angeles Clippers, but the loss of Lillard's elite scoring and playmaking creates significant offensive questions that the organization must address. The financial implications of Milwaukee's decision are equally staggering. The Bucks are now paying $22.5 million annually for the next 5 years to a player who will never suit up for their organization again, while simultaneously committing substantial resources to Turner and other roster additions. This level of financial commitment to former employees severely limits their flexibility to make additional moves, potentially handcuffing the organization's ability to respond to future opportunities or needs. The financial reality was starkly illustrated by one commentator who noted for Giannis Antetokounmpo personally, Lillard's departure creates both challenges and opportunities. The two-time MVP must now adapt to playing alongside a completely different type of teammate in Turner, which could either unlock new dimensions of his game or expose the limitations of Milwaukee's current roster construction. With his own contract situation allowing for potential movement in the coming years, Giannis's satisfaction with the organization's direction will likely determine whether the Bucks can maintain their championship window or face the prospect of losing their franchise player. Multiple contending teams, including the Boston Celtics and Minnesota Timberwolves, made serious offers for Dame's services, understanding that even a recovering Lillard could provide significant value both on and off the court. His decision to choose Portland over more obvious championship contenders speaks to the importance of factors beyond pure basketball considerations. Paul George suggested several potential destinations that could have benefited from Lillard's services, noting, "The precedent set by Milwaukee's handling of Lillard's situation will undoubtedly influence how other organizations approach similar decisions with aging superstars coming off significant injuries." The willingness to stretch such a massive contract demonstrates both the financial resources available to NBA franchises and their commitment to maintaining competitive flexibility, even at enormous monetary cost. The coaching implications are equally significant. Chauncey Billups now has the opportunity to work with one of the league's most accomplished players while continuing to develop promising young talent. This combination of veteran leadership and youthful energy could accelerate Portland's development timeline and provide Billups with the resources necessary to establish himself as an elite NBA coach. Looking toward the future, Lillard's return to Portland creates multiple potential scenarios for how his career might conclude. The success or failure of this reunion will likely influence similar decisions by other veteran players and organizations for years to come. If Lillard successfully returns to form and helps Portland achieve sustained success, it could encourage other franchises to take similar calculated risks on aging superstars with strong organizational connections. Conversely, if the reunion fails to produce competitive success, or if Lillard's recovery proves more challenging than anticipated, it might serve as a cautionary tale about the limitations of sentiment in professional sports decision-making. Ultimately, Damian Lillard's return to Portland represents a unique confluence of circumstances that may never be replicated in professional sports. The combination of his injury-forced availability, Portland's organizational transformation, and his deep personal connections to the city created an opportunity for a reunion that satisfies multiple stakeholders while advancing various strategic objectives. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to watch another fascinating video like this, click on one of the boxes on your screen right now.